Namo MyoHoRenGeKyo. How's everybody doing? I hope you're in good health. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your practice. Namo MyoHoRenGeKyo. And just as a reminder, your like and subscribe of these podcast videos, super important to help promulgate this resource for anyone looking to remove doubts, find clear information, current information, correct information via Nichiren's mentorship of Shakyamuni's teachings of Lotus Sutra method for self-enlightenment. There's a mouthful. Want to say that as correctly as possible. And in that vein, we're starting another Gosho from the collection Nichiren On Karma. And this one's called On Offering Daimoku Through the Mandala of the Wonderful and Difficult to Understand Law. And right off the bat, these first two sentences, as much as I want to correct the cultural biases, the linguistic biases, the faulty language, the misleading language in these translations, I'm also very cautious, reticent to just sweep through and make changes because I want to be very sensitive to what Nichiren is actually saying, what Shakyamuni, in light of Shakyamuni's and all the scholarship between Shakyamuni and Nichiren on the meaning of the practice, these terms, and with that lens of over 40 years of study, it becomes quite clear what Nichiren is saying, and I don't want to lose that clarity. I don't want to just arbitrarily change words because I don't like them. So in some cases, I'll leave them in place only because you're going to run into them, and I would rather see that something is maybe unclear, give me an opportunity to jump in and clear it up so that I'm also giving you tools with which to, I see what Sylvain was talking about here. When this happens, yeah, he's right. This is easily misleading or confusing. But always having that litmus test of what is the teaching of Shakyamuni? What are we trying to do? Right? I'd rather give you those tools than just fix everything, right? Which, of course, isn't possible, but, right? So if it seems like I'm lacking, understand there's some method to my my sharing of whatever insights and scholarship that I have, yeah? Okay. Nose. Stop it. All right. I have offered Daimoku to the GoHonzon of MyoHoRenGeKyo. First sentence. And from all these talks that we've had, I think you know what I'm going to say. He's offering Daimoku. What is Daimoku? Namo MyoHoRenGeKyo. To the GoHonzon, that mental portal that takes us from samsaric attachment to samsaric detachment, and thereby affording us a very clear view of what's going on, right? All potential manifesting constantly, as in our own minds, our own lives, moment to moment to moment, so we can witness, appreciate, have compassion for, as we move into the next moment, hopefully more and more toward this equanimity of understanding that we're all participating in this great momentum of energies, manifesting, rather than staying locked samsarically into what we think we own, we have. That's the past. That's not real anymore. It's a collection of stuff, fine, but that's all it is. We tend to invest our identities. Stop that. Just chunked away a bunch of frames. One of these days, I'm getting closer. We're getting closer to funds in our what do they call them? Coffers, from your donations, from your buying ebooks and books and so forth. I'm going to get a proper video editing station, and we'll stop having these dropped frames. That's my quest. Anyway, apologies for the side note. Since I'm talking about it, you may have noticed in the last couple of videos my attempts at color grading, and I'm finding I'm having a much deeper appreciation for those people who do color grading all the time. You've got to have calibrated monitors, which I do not. So I'm kind of hunting around in the dark. Anyway, back to Nichiren. Sorry for the aside there. So yeah, he starts out, I've offered Daimoku to the GoHonzon, that portal of mind, of MyoHoRenGeKyo. Well, the Daimoku is Namu MyoHoRenGeKyo, so that's what he's offering to the law, the Buddha-ness, the invocation of, in the mind, of MyoHoRenGeKyo. He says here, GoHonzon of MyoHoRenGeKyo. So you see, there's all these subtle little identifications, if you will, because we're samsaric beings, of trying to track this process from I am what I own and see and have to I am something that is an observer of, a participant in the grand scheme of life instantiation in the universe, with this collection of things that I identify a self with, but I'm not that self. I'm much greater, much larger, and you are a part of that much larger self. This is why I have so much compassion for you in your practice, because you are not a separate thing from me. My experience of living, of beauty, of pain, of this whole drama that is life, ongoing, momentum, moment to moment to moment, includes you. Why wouldn't it? We're all of the same energies. We're all manifesting our lives moment to moment together. Right? What are you doing? My computer is being weird today, so apologies. So, do you understand? So, Daimoku to the GoHonzon of MyoHoRenGeKyo, that's a multi-layered statement. The very next statement, he says, though this mandala has but 5 or 7 characters, it is the teacher of all Buddhas throughout the 3 existences and the seal that guarantees the enlightenment of all women. Another letter to a woman, yeah. A very encouraging letter to a woman, because he wants women to understand in medieval Japan, let alone today, although women are having this idea, right, media presenting them in more and more strong personages and roles, still our society plays within the roles of male and female, one being superior, although women are seen now for certain areas that they can be superior, and they are, but this whole battle for superiority is moot. As a Buddhist, that's social samsaric constructs, right? So certainly Buddhism shouldn't pay homage to any of that social construct of misogyny or anything else. That's pretty damn forward thinking if you think about it. 3,000 years ago? Do you think that would have been well received? We're still struggling with it now. So, Nichiren's taking a lot of time here to be specific and to raise this woman's awareness of the power she has to enlightenment, like any other sentient beings. Yeah? Now, when he says, though this mandala has 5 or 7 characters, is he talking about that scroll? And that's why I left this wording the way it is. So I want you to understand, the mandala is kind of a, let's give it an equivalent so it can be square in our minds what we mean when we say mandala, right? Because in popular parlance, we watch monks of different orders make mandalas out of sand and mandalas out of this and mandalas out of that. But that's not mandala. That's a picture used as a mandala. So what does the word mandala really mean to us in Buddhism as we discuss it? I don't care what the dictionary says. Mandala, for you and I, is equivalent to invoke. The invocation of, in fact, more accurately, what is invoked? Because the invocation, you could say, is just the words. But that's the mistake, right? Shakyamuni constantly corrects. Don't get hung up on the words. Look for the meaning, right? So it's not the invocation, it's the invocation of. It's the target. It's the GoHonzon. You see, this hard to put into language activity, though we can understand it, is camouflaged in the words as identification. This is where we first get confused and misled in the idea that somehow this scroll is the mandala, and secondly, that it is the GoHonzon. Neither one of those statements is correct. And here Nichiren is saying it clearly, and somehow it's translated in a way where his message comes through. He's offering daimoku to the GoHonzon of MyoHoRenGeKyo, those 5 characters, not the whole scroll. And then he's saying, though this mandala has but 5 or 7 characters, 7 being Namu MyoHoRenGeKyo, he's not talking about this scroll. He's talking about the apparition, the appearance of the treasure tower, the appearance of that portal of mind, GoHonzon, which is all about the invocation of Buddha. You follow? And that's why he says that this is the teacher of all Buddhas throughout the 3 existences. Not the scroll. It didn't exist past, present, future, right? What exists is the law of self-instantiation, the law of opening the sentient mind to experience Buddha. What's that law look like? What's it sound like? What's it labeled? MyoHoRenGeKyo. MyoHoRenGeKyo, each a concept of what is being invoked. And mandala is the process of opening that portal, not the scroll. The representation of, right? This mandala, though this mandala has but 5 or 7 characters, that scroll has more than 5 or 7 characters. So he's not talking about the scroll. He's talking about the law, the invocation. It is the teacher of all Buddhas throughout the 3 existences, the enlightenment, the GoHonzon, the Buddha-ness. And guarantees enlightenment of all women. It will be a lamp in the darkness of the road to the next world and a fine horse to carry you over the mountains of death. It is like the sun and moon in the skies and spaces, or Mount Sumeru on earth. It is a ship to ferry people over the sea of sufferings of birth and death. Birth, death. It is the teacher who leads all people to Buddhahood and enlightenment. This great mandala has never yet been propagated anywhere in Jambudvipa in more than 2,220 years since Shakyamuni Buddha's extinction. In this context, I'm leaving the word mandala because I'm assuming you understand that that's not the mandala, right? The mandala is the process of opening GoHonzon to experience Buddha. It's more a verb than a noun. I'll fall back on that right? You hear me say that a lot. It's not the invocation in words, sounds, and letters. It's the invocation of. It's the target of. It's the objective of our invocation. Now, if you feel strongly that I should change that word mandala to GoHonzon to keep this point alive in your mind, let me know in the comments. Or should I do as I just did? Leave mandala in there, but rely on your ability as you read these in the future to understand that mandala isn't the thing. It isn't the scroll. It's the law, the MyoHoRenGeKyo, the Namo MyoHoRenGeKyo, the treasure tower. It's the mental conjuring. Moving on. The prescription of medicine differs according to the illness, right? You take aspirin for a headache. You take Pepto-Bismol for upset stomach. Alka-Seltzer usually works better for me. Whatever. A slight ailment can be treated with ordinary medicine. And here, obviously, the metaphor is ailments are often physical, but a lot of ailments are in understanding, misunderstanding, inability to, having ignorance, having wrong information, being misled. Those are illnesses. Anything that prohibits you from experiencing your life in Buddha-ness as a moment-to-moment glorious activity that we share with everything is an illness. It's taking you away from that glorious life. A slight ailment can be treated with ordinary medicine, but for grave illnesses, an elixir should be used. Ooh, fancy word, elixir. In other words, a more profound medicine, right, needs to be used. During the more than 2,220 years since the Buddha's extinction, the people's illnesses of earthly desires and difficult karma were not serious, and a succession of wise men appeared in order to act as physicians and dispense medicine appropriately as these illnesses required. These men came from the Dharma Analysis Treasury School, the Establishment of the Truth School, the Precepts, the Dharma Characteristics, and the Three Treatises schools, as well as the True Word, Flower Garland, Tendai, Pure Land, and Zen schools. Right? These are all earlier teachings of Shakyamuni, except for Zen, which includes some teachings outside of Shakyamuni's teachings. Nichiren holds a special place for them. Each of these schools prescribed its own medicine. For example, the Flower Garland School set forth the principle of the 6 forms and the 10 mysteries. The Three Treatises schools advocated the middle path of the 8 negations. The Dharma Characteristics schools stressed the perception that all phenomena derive from consciousness only. Nothing's real. It's all made up in your mind. That's not the ultimate teaching of Shakyamuni's, but that was a popular one. I know in this country it was very popular, especially in the 50s, 60s, and into the 70s, yeah? Everything is mind only. They missed the point on that. They find out later, but anyway, right? Nichiren's just going through these different schools. And for a while, that worked for people. They weren't that distracted. Their delusions weren't that profound like today. Our delusions are battering us at rates beyond seconds. We're constantly barraged by our own minds because our minds are being trained to barrage our own minds. Right? You've heard it a million times. I don't need to go into it, but you understand the rate and the amount of distraction to control our direction, our thoughts, our minds. It's not uncommon to think that maybe your mind is gone because you're just so busy responding to everything, you really don't know where you are in that mess. Well, guess what? That's kind of an opportunity. This is why the Lotus Sutra is so direct, simple, concise, pierces through all of that. Amazing, yeah? That Shakyamuni knew to do this. So let's continue. The precept school upheld the 250 precepts. If you just behave like this, surely you'll become enlightened. May have worked at one time, helped at least, right? The Pure Land School invoked the name of Abhida Buddha. Oh boy, if we just chant that one Buddha's name, everything will be okay after we die. It's like, can't even recognize that as Buddhism. Buddhism about living this life well. What are you talking about? It turned it into a religion, yeah? Excuse me. The Zen school expounded the, quote, perceiving one's true nature in attaining Buddhahood, end quote. The True Word school propounded the meditation on the 5 elements, and the Tendai school taught the doctrine of the 3,000 realms in a single thought moment of life, which Nichiren utilizes in his elucidations of the Lotus Sutra practice, yeah? Now, however, we've entered the latter day of the law, and the medicines of these various schools no longer cure the people's illnesses. What are we talking about, illnesses? Distractions, attachments, the voracious need to own and have, craving. I mean, it's never been more pronounced in our sentient minds, in the history of human life. This constant avarice for something, anything, more of anything, right? So these previous methods, they didn't even take care of the symptoms, right? They don't work. They're diversions. They're just another distraction. Moreover, all the Japanese have become ichantikas and people of grave slander because everything's now a fashion. So even the greatest teaching, the ultimate teaching of Shakyamuni Buddha is looked upon as just another fashionable trick of the day, which is really, right? Kind of crapping all over the one thing that could get you out of your mess. Because you're ignorant. You don't understand. You don't have the time to understand. Their offense is even worse than that of killing one's father or mother, fomenting a rebellion, or causing a Buddha to bleed. Japan is filled with individuals whose respective offenses exceed even those of one who were to gouge out the eyes of all the human beings of a major world system, or raise all the temples and pagodas in the worlds of the 10 directions. Consequently, the skies and space-born deities glare down furiously upon our nation day after day, while the earthly deities tremble in continual rage. Nevertheless, all the people of our day have confidence themselves to be without fault, and none doubt that they will be reborn in the Pure Land or attain Buddhahood. The blind cannot see or know the shining sun, and someone who is sound asleep will not feel even an earthquake that is reverberating like a great drum. So too it is with all the people of Japan who do not realize their own offenses. The offenses committed by the men are heavier than those committed by the women. Well, In like manner, the nuns' offenses are heavier than the laymen's, and the monks more serious than the nuns. Among the monks, the offenses of those who observe the precepts are worse than those of monks who violate them. And those of learned monks are graver still. Such monks are like those with white leprosy among the lepers, and among those with white leprosy, the most malignant. So really, he's going after those who are redolent in their stuck historical, traditional ways, and really not evolving in their understanding of Shakyamuni Buddha's teachings, specifically Buddhism, yeah? So he continues, Shakyamuni Buddha, the Lord of the teachings, the one who opened this eye of practice and life and understanding the formations of all phenomena, how the engine of life functions, brought together the thus come one many treasures in all the emanation Buddhas of the 10 directions, and left one elixir, the 5 characters of MyoHoRenGeKyo, for the people of the latter day of the law. He refused to entrust it to any of the bodhisattvas, such as Dharma Wisdom, Forest of Merits, Vajrasattva, Universal Worthy, Manjushri, Medicine King, Perceiver of the World Sounds, let alone Mahakasyapa and Shariputra, or any other person of the 2 vehicles. Rather, there were 4 great bodhisattvas, including superior practices, who had been disciples of the thus come one Shakyamuni since he first attained Buddhahood, numberless major world system dust particle kalpas ago. Not even for a moment had they ever forgotten the Buddha. Shakyamuni summoned these great bodhisattvas and transferred MyoHoRenGeKyo to them. What is he talking about there? This all sounds like, if you're not familiar, this all sounds either hyperbolic or magical or mystical. He's just regurgitating the story of the Lotus Sutra, the ceremony in the sky. He's synopsizing several chapters that we've already discussed about the entrustment of the law, the bodhisattvas from beneath the earth, right? Future bodhisattvas, you and I. The treasure, the appearance of the treasure tower, this lifespan chapter. All of those chapters describe in full storytelling mode this law of life, this mechanism we can use as samsaric beings to open our locked-in, identified mind with the mind that perceives everything without classification, identification, ownership, blah, 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 and sees the truth. This is how life works. Wow, right? What a release. So he's synopsizing those central chapters of the Lotus Sutra, the story, the expedient means, and trying to get the focus in on, do you see how all these stories are about this objective, this singular objective goal to achieve this portal of mind, this understanding, Honzon, that gives you this Buddha view, this Buddha-ness, this immersion in the process itself. No room for interpretation there. It just is. It's happening. A woman who takes this efficacious medicine will be surrounded and protected by these 4 great bodhisattvas all the time. Well, he's talking about these 4 great bodhisattvas, which he occasionally identifies himself with, but they're not actual people, right? We know that. They're personages, they're collections of mental understanding that have a certain level of commitment. And by practicing Namo MyoHoRenGeKyo, we invoke not only our Buddha-ness, but the pillars that uphold that Buddha-ness within our samsaric existence. Every mental conjuring construction that we make shifts from the database and warehouse of stuff we own and identify with to an identification of something universal, equanimous, happening now and into the next momentum, rather than hauling around this warehouse of identity it's false. When she rises to her feet, so too will the bodhisattvas. And when she walks along the road, they will also do the same. She and they will be as inseparable as a body and its shadow, as a fish and water, as a voice and its echo, or as the moon and its light. Should these four bodhisattvas desert the woman who chants Namo MyoHoRenGeKyo, they would incur the wrath of Shakyamuni, many treasures, and the emanation Buddhas of the 10 directions. You may be certain that their offense would be greater than even that of Devadatta, their falsehood more terrible than Kokalika's. How reassuring, how encouraging. Namo MyoHoRenGeKyo, Namo MyoHoRenGeKyo. So you see, there's always this dance in rhetoric between the forces of nature that you experience right now, moment to moment, that you can cognate, experience through your mind, and the labeling conventions, right? Making them personifications that somehow makes them more real to your samsaric identity, right? The four bodhisattvas, they accompany you as you walk down the road. What a comforting thought. But they're not for men or men and women or LGBTQ, whatever. See, all that identification, it's so nonsense, right? It's more, in the modern parlance, we'd say forces of nature that you have invoked will not leave you. They will maintain their presence in your mental experience, your life, right? What is your life without a mental experience of it, right? Buddhism is about the mind, attitude, and intent. And if you know you're invoking Buddha-ness, single-mindedly Buddha, this is Nichiren's fundamental. When you chant, when you use your mandala, your scroll, to open the mandala of the law, GoHonzon, in your mind, MyoHoRenGeKyo, and you experience Buddha-ness, then that experience doesn't leave you. Your samsaric mind is loud. The monkey mind is loud, and it may sometimes overwhelm you. But your enlightenment, your invocation of it, your enlivening it in your experience of life never leaves you. This is quite a letter. Actually, this says they don't know who this was written to. They think it was written to lay nun Shinichi, the wife of Abutsubo. Abutsubo being an was it Tendai priest that Nichiren knew? Anyway, all of that is not nearly as important as the basis of the letter he wrote, yeah? Nichiren emphasizes that Namo MyoHoRenGeKyo is the medicine that will cure all the illnesses, that is, the sufferings of all people in the latter day of the law, and that the lay nun Shinichi, a woman who chants Namo MyoHoRenGeKyo, will be protected by the four bodhisattvas at all times, which we just talked about. So amazing, amazing how Nichiren condensed, really, the teachings of the Lotus Sutra. Obviously, for this woman to understand what Nichiren is telling her, beyond just giving her confidence, right? Way to go, Nichiren. But obviously, this woman has to have read the Lotus Sutra. She probably reads it every day. So he's lending context to her recitation of the Lotus Sutra, so she understands the implication, which is what we're all doing in our practice of Buddhism. Thank you. Thank you for participating, for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Use the notification bell if that helps you. That's important to grow this Sangha. So thank you for taking a moment to do that. It's Bodhisattva work, yeah. And beyond that, of course, supporting this channel. I have to keep harping on it because, sometimes it's a knife edge keeping this thing going. But I desperately want to keep this resource available to as many people as I can. Not only this channel, this is a very important connecting point, yeah? But threefoldlotus.com, an important website. It's something I've been building since the 90s, actually earlier. Yeah, I've been around. The site keeps getting better. I need to go in and probably, there's some stuff that's historic to me, and I've taught martial arts and other things, and there's remnants of that on the site, and maybe that's not, I have some bizarre attachment to that. It led me to Buddhism, though, so it's on the site, and I probably should start removing some of that stuff. It's just clutter. There's just so much information available on threefoldlotus.com, not only as a portal to the ebooks, but the core studies page has dozens and dozens and dozens of links for very basic questions. What is karma? How does karma work? What are the 12 divisions? All these questions that come up as you study, and you see these terms, you go, well, what the hell is that? Well, I've tried to collect documents from authorities, if not created by me, by other authorities, on the definitions of these terms. And in light of Nichiren's teachings, right? Sometimes directly to Tendai or to Shakyamuni, but always with an eye on our modern day practice of the Lotus Sutra, yes? So yeah, and patrons, go to the Patreon patreon.com/TLK page, and you'll get all of these videos are there, plus probably some other little documents I throw up every now and again that usually end up on threefoldlotus.com on that page. So there's a lot of repetition here. So you can go to Patreon if you like the Patreon page. And that's a portal where you can there's no fee. It's just a portal that makes it easy for you to make regular donations through PayPal, or go to PayPal directly. Links on threefoldlotus.com and on the homepage of this channel, right? And if you like holding a book, I like marking books and so forth. So I like a print book. So lulu.com/spotlight/Kwun. The link is all over the place. It's in the description. So you can get books there. Get a mandala. Get a digitally copied version of an actual Nichiren inscribed, late Nichiren inscribed mandala. Late being later in his life, when he had a complete scroll, right? And so you can get a complete version of it, or you can get it on threefoldlotus.com as a PDF, and you can print it out any size you may need. People have had struggles trying to fit a particular mandala print into their butsudan. Not everyone has a massive butsudan like this one, right? I certainly didn't when I began. Anyway, All that said, I want you to understand how much I appreciate your practice, number one, and your support. So in that vein, please take care of your health. And I will see you in the next one. No about a doubt it. Okay. Bye for now.